Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're diving into the uncanny, the bizarre, the downright creepy world of facts that'll make your skin crawl. Today we're venturing into the shadowy corners of reality, where insects rule the earth, deep-sea monsters lurk in the abyss, and historical events send shivers down our spines. This isn't your regular trivia, we're talking about the things that go bump in the night and make your heart race. So buckle up because we're about to take a wild ride into the world of the weird and the wonderful. Ever had a bug crawl up your leg? Well, you might want to check your pants after hearing these creepy facts about insects. Let's kick things off with the humble cockroach. Did you know that these little critters can survive for a week without their heads? Yes, you heard that right. They don't breathe through their mouths but through little holes in their body segments, so they can go about their roach business, head or no head, until they eventually die of thirst. Talk about a headless horror. Next up, let's talk about the bombardier beetle. This little insect could give James Bond a run for his money. When threatened, it mixes chemicals inside its body and sprays boiling, corrosive liquid from its rear end. It's like a tiny six-legged chemical warfare agent. And speaking of agents, let's move on to the deceivingly cute ladybug. These little red and black beetles are known to play dead when they sense danger. But that's not all. They also release a foul-smelling fluid from their knees. I guess their motto is, if you can't beat them, gross them out. Now let's get a little more personal. Did you know that there are tiny mites called Demodex that live on your face right now? They're microscopic, so you can't see them, but they're there, feasting on the oils in your skin. Sweet dreams. Finally, we can't forget about the queen of all insects, the queen termite. She is an egg-laying machine, capable of producing over 30,000 eggs a day. That's more than 1 million eggs in a month. Talk about a full house. And here's a bonus fact for you. The total weight of all the insects on Earth is 12 times more than the weight of all the humans. That's a lot of bugs. And you thought spiders in your bedroom were bad, huh? Well, let's move on to something a bit more watery. Forget Jaws, the real monsters are lurking in the deep, dark depths of our oceans. Let's dive into the world of these eerie ocean dwellers, shall we? First up, meet the goblin shark. With their long, protruding snouts and retractable jaws, they're straight out of a horror movie. But don't worry, they prefer to hang out in the abyssal depths, some 2,000 to 3,000 meters below the surface. Speaking of the deep, did you know that we've only explored less than 5% of our oceans? That leaves 95% of the deep blue, teeming with potential sea monsters unexplored. Gives you the heebie-jeebies, doesn't it? Now let's talk about the giant squid. These elusive creatures can grow up to 43 feet long. To give you some perspective, that's about the length of a standard school bus. And their eyes? Almost as large as a dinner plate. Imagine seeing that on your next deep-sea dive. Ever heard of the black swallower? No, it's not a bird. It's a fish that can swallow prey over twice its own length and 10 times its mass. Talk about having eyes bigger than your belly. And then there's the anglerfish. Famous for its luminescent lure, it uses this glowing bait to attract unsuspecting prey in the pitch-black depths. And the male anglerfish? They're tiny in comparison and latch onto the females for life, slowly fusing with them. Now that's what I call a clingy relationship. The vampire squid sounds scary, right? Well, it's not a bloodsucker. Its name comes from its dark, cape-like webbing. But it does have a creepy trick up its tentacles. When threatened, it can turn itself inside out to avoid predators. And finally, let's not forget the colossal creatures like the blue whale, the largest animal to have ever lived. Its heart alone is the size of a small car. So the next time you take a dip in the ocean, remember, you're never alone in there. History isn't just about kings and queens, sometimes it's about the macabre and the morbid. Let's dive into some of the darkest corners of the past where the bizarre and the creepy lurk. Think your history classes were dull? Think again. Let's start with the infamous Vlad the Impaler. This guy was the real-life inspiration for Dracula. He earned his nickname by impaling his enemies on long spikes. And when I say enemies, I mean 20,000 of them. Talk about a harsh way to make a point. Moving on, let's talk about Victorian England. It was a time of great progress, but also of great peculiarities. One of the creepiest was the trend of post-mortem photography. Yes, you heard it right. The Victorians would take family portraits with their dearly departed loved ones, sometimes even posing them as if they were still alive. Now that's a chilling keepsake. Next up, the Roman Empire. The Romans were known for their grand feasts. But did you know they had a room specifically for vomiting? Called a vomitorium, it was where they'd go to purge themselves so they could eat more. Talk about a foodie nightmare. Let's jump ahead to the 19th century. Ever heard of the dancing plague of 1518? In Strasbourg, people started dancing and couldn't stop. Some danced for days, even weeks, until they collapsed from exhaustion or in some cases died. And no one knows why. It's like a terrifying game of musical chairs but with a deadly twist. And finally, the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan, their leader, killed so many people that he actually cooled the planet. The massive depopulation led to reforestation, which pulled carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and caused a global cooling effect. Now, that's a chilling fact. So, the past wasn't as rosy as your history teacher made it out to be, was it? But wait, there's more. Scene script. Think we're living in normal times? Think again. Did you know that we're constantly surrounded by invisible life forms? I'm not talking about ghosts, but rather the millions of bacteria and microorganisms that are present all around us, even on our skin and inside our bodies. They're so tiny we can't see them with our naked eyes. But don't worry, most of them are harmless and some are even beneficial. And speaking of invisible, how about the fact that we're constantly being bombarded by cosmic rays? These high-energy particles from outer space hit our planet all the time. Don't fret though, our atmosphere and magnetic field protect us for the most part. Let's shift gears to something more down to Earth, or should I say, under the Earth. It's estimated that there are over 1 million species of insects in the world, and many of them are still undiscovered. That's a whole lot of creepy crawlies waiting to be found, and if you think you're safe in the digital world, think again. There are thousands of viruses and malware floating around on the internet, waiting to infect your devices. Cybersecurity may not be as tangible as a creepy crawler, but it's just as hair-raising when you think about it. Now here's a fun fact to lighten the mood. The average person will spend about 6 months of their life waiting for red lights to turn green. That's a lot of time spent staring at a traffic light. On a more chilling note, did you know that there are over 2,000 active serial killers in the world right now, according to some estimates? It's a grim thought, but it's a part of the terrifying today. And lastly, did you know that every second, 4 babies are born and 2 people pass away? It's a constant cycle of life and death, happening every moment, all around the world. And you thought your daily life was boring, huh? Well, that's all we have for today. Made it through without fainting? Well, congrats, you brave soul. It's been a harrowing journey, hasn't it? From the unnerving creepy crawlies that lurk in the nooks and crannies of our world, to the deep-sea monsters that roam the depths of our oceans, we've delved into the spine-chilling side of planet Earth. We've opened the crypt of historical horrors, unearthing the eerie events of our past, and let's not forget the terrifying truths of today that we've bravely faced. All in all, we've journeyed through 60 creepy facts. Quite the feat, don't you think? If you're anything like me, you're probably feeling a strange mix of terror and fascination. It's a cocktail of emotions that only the macabre can stir up. But remember, there's a strange comfort in knowing that you've braved through these facts and lived to tell the tale. And hey, you've also got some interesting conversation starters for your next dinner party. Just make sure your guests aren't eating when you bring up the creepy crawlies. Well, we've reached the end of our eerie journey. If you've enjoyed this haunting journey and want more, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, stay curious and maybe a little creeped out.